I keep trying to tell people this year is like the last year to get really good
Yeah.
discounts, man.
Man,
Like if you miss dollar cost averaging this year, forget about it. And that's when I bought the 17K, right?
Yeah.
I made sure I secured another whole coin at
Yeah.
17K.
It's still going to be way undervalued once it hits even 150 or 200K.
Look, if you don't have at least one whole coin, right? Here's the thing, man. There's only 21 million that will ever be minted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's 50 million millionaires in the world right now, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have at least one, if you don't have at least one, you're gonna miss the greatest wealth transfer in history. That's all I can say to that.
This is the Mooncast. You're almost out of time, and this is my last call to you as an individual to take back control of what has been robbed from you year in and year out through inflation. Now, I want to do a What is Money series at some point to really break down what money is, but I just haven't had time. I've been super busy, and this is really my last call to you to really pay attention and take action. Most importantly, execute, because you're running out of time. There's not much time left. And the sooner that it gets to the previous all-time high that Bitcoin was at, which was 69K, the less opportunities you're going to have in this market. And this market is extremely volatile and it moves very fast. This is my 4th year in. I'm a mentor at the Stanford AI and Web3 Research Labs. I'm a blockchain consultant. I built a B2B logistics SaaS-based blockchain model, right? And so I say to you, I hope that you will be able to really take it serious, to understand that I'm serious and I've put everything I've had into the space as much as I possibly could. So I'm hoping that you will do the same and understand that this is an opportunity to get generational wealth. And if you miss this opportunity, there may be one more. The institutions are in now. You may get one last opportunity to really get exponential rates of return. This is the best asymmetric bet in the history of our generation. And if you miss it, then I don't know what to tell you, because inflation is going to eat you for lunch, and then they'll onboard a new system. And then if you didn't have some value disseminated into this system, you'll be trapped into the new system that they have, and they're going to onboard. So whoever you are, wherever you are out there, I ask that you pay close attention as I've been screaming, buy. And I've been putting out as much content as I possibly could to make people as aware as I possibly could, to educate people as much as I possibly could. And I've gone all in. My name is Vandross Idiake. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. If you're old here, thanks for stopping by again. I just want the best for each and every individual on this planet, and I see this as something that is the only thing that really needs to be paying attention to, because I was just in London and there's a lot of people that are getting squeezed. The average wage there after tax is like £2,500. Most people are paying 1.5K to 2K for one room, not even an entire apartment. People are on the edge. Inflation is crushing everybody everywhere around the world, and this is one way in which you can escape to make your life cheaper, to make your life better. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to say. All I know is this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and if you miss it, God bless you. Now, let's just jump into this. I'm sorry for trying to make this so serious, but it is a very, very serious event that's taking place here. The institutions are now in. The BlackRock ETFs have been approved. WisdomTree, all these guys, they're all getting in. They've all gotten in. And so the market's going to go much higher. The hype isn't even there yet. If you look at Google Trends, people aren't even talking about what's going on right now. And Bitcoin's like 17K away from its previous all-time high. So if you're not in the market now, you still have a little bit of time, but you're running out. You're running out of time. So I just hope that for your sake that you're able, or this podcast is able to find you, or you're able to find this podcast and you're able to listen to what I have to say. So one of the things that I would say and mention right now is that the Bitcoin halving is approaching very, very, there's not enough blocks left. Look, it's 8,600. It's less than 10,000 blocks remaining to be mined, right? So once that number hits to 840,000, the halving will take place via the protocol, right? And the protocol moves autonomously. And basically what I mean by that, if you're new to Bitcoin, is Bitcoin has, it mints a block around every 10 minutes. And so once it gets to a certain threshold or milestone of the amount of blocks that's been minted, a halving event will occur. And that usually happens every single 4 years, right? And the next one is estimated to happen around April, right? And so some halving countdown clocks are a couple days above this 57 day mark, and some are below. Some are like maybe like 53, 54 days, depending on their estimates of how many blocks are getting minted every 10 minutes or so, right? And so I don't know what else to say other than you don't have much time left. These guys are predicting that it's supposed to happen April 20th, which would be a day before actually my birthday, which is actually pretty cool. But this is just something that you need to keep in mind. So there's 57 days left. What can you do if you're not in the market, right? So I'm speaking to the people that are not in the market now. And even if you are in the market, you should maybe pay attention to this because you might be able to find some value out of this too as well. So there's a couple of things that you can do, right? If you're not in the market at all, and let's say your portfolio is less than $10,000, one thing you can do is try to get airdrops. One ecosystem actually that I really, really like a lot, that a lot of people are starting to now pick up on, which is what I was screaming for people to pay attention to, was the Cosmos ecosystem, right? Now, Cosmos itself, I don't think is a very, very good buy, right? Just because of the fact that, around 20% of supply gets minted every single year that they distribute in the form of staking rewards. And so it dilutes the value over the course of time. So there needs to be an extreme level of demand to bypass the fact that there's increase of supply of about 20% every single year or so. I think that number is decreased now because they did a proposal recently. I actually don't hold any Cosmos itself, but if you're very, very new, it's a very seamless way to where you can buy Cosmos, you can stake Cosmos. If you'd like to know how to stake Cosmos, you can please book a meeting on my Calendly and we can get you sorted, right? If you're very, very new, you don't understand what I'm saying, you don't understand what staking is. Staking is a way in which you can show proof of ownership on the chain and help support the chain, because the more circulation that gets taken off the chain, the harder it is for someone to just buy up the token supply and then have majority voting rights. So you're helping support the chain by, let's say, if 60-70% of people stake, that means only 30-40% of supply is left for someone to buy, like a whale to buy in mass, right? And because you're putting it on the chain, staking it to a validator node who helps support the chain, you get rewarded in staking rewards. You get a dividends for that. And it's basically what that is, right? So Cosmos is definitely one that you should definitely look at. And, if you're very, very new, right? Another one that you can look at for airdrops, right, is osmosis, right? And the reason I'm telling you this is because there's been some serious airdrops happening on the Cosmos ecosystem. If you don't know what airdrops are, it's basically a way to bootstrap a community by launching your token and distributing it out to wallet holders who fit a set criteria of standards. In this case, you stake Cosmos, and people or projects are building on the Cosmos SDK. They'll use airdrops as a form of marketing, so you get tokens directly into your wallet just for staking Cosmos. And you can also do this too as well with osmosis, right? It's another outlet you can take, right? You can stake your osmosis, and it's the DEX or decentralized exchange platform for Cosmos, right? I like osmosis as a better option because most projects, if they're doing airdrop for Cosmos, they're going to do one for osmosis, and osmosis has a better exponential upside. Now, the tokenomics aren't the best, but they're not the worst. So there's currently about 50% of the supply currently released. As you can see, the total max supply is 1 billion. And it still has a lot of upside. I think the previous all-time high was around $10. So it's another one that you can look into and see if that's something that you would be interested in to get some airdrops. So free money, right? Why do I say that the airdrops can be extremely, extremely lucrative? Well, because I've received some of these airdrops, and one of them that's noticeable is the number 139 crypto right now in the world, right? Which is Celestia, right? And this was an airdrop that was given to me. So at the current stage, the airdrop would be worth close to 5 figs, right? Of an airdrop for just an airdrop, 5-figure airdrop, right? For some people got even 6 figures, right? And then if you were to take this Celestia tokens and you were to stake those, you were then able to then get DYM tokens, right? Which is another project that was building on top of Celestia. I know this may sound a bit confusing. If you are confused or if you're getting a little bit lost, again, my Calendly is in the link in the description. Please just go into the LinkTree, book a meeting, and I will get you sorted, right? But DYM is also doing extremely great too as well. They're number 73 on CoinMarketCap right now, and they've already crossed $1 billion in market cap. So this is another way in which you could farm airdrops, and then you take those airdrops, you stake those airdrops to then farm more airdrops, and that way you don't have to spend so much money to accumulate coins. That's if you're kind of low, you don't have a high budget, you don't have so much savings. There's not much time left. The risk and to reward ratio is getting smaller and smaller as the market continues to move on, and we get more bullish and more bullish. Historically speaking, after the Bitcoin halving, there usually is about an 18-month time span of where it's completely bullish and up only, basically. So you still do have time to get into the market, but the best buying opportunities are about to start passing you by, right? There's another project on the Cosmos ecosystem too, I think is very interesting, is Kujira, right? So Kujira is one that I've been accumulating to as well, and I think this one is going to do really well. They have a stablecoin narrative. They fixed the issues of the previous crash of Luna and UST. If you don't know what that is, that was back in 2021, 2022, when Luna was thriving and they were doing really, really great. And they had this mint burn mechanism with their stablecoin, and it was a decentralized sort of type of model, an algorithmic stablecoin. And it depended on basically the supply and the demand, and it was a little bit convoluted, and basically Luna and UST were pegged with one another. So the problem is a death spiral happened. Luna and UST ended up crashing. They ended up going to zero, and Kujira kind of fixes that issue with their stablecoin, which is offering also real yield based off of trading fees on their decentralized exchange platform that also has limit orders, buy sell orders. And I think they may have perpetuals too as well. I'm not sure. But anyways, you can stake on here and you can earn tokens on their ecosystem too that are dropping. So This is another very, very interesting play that you could look into, right? And yeah, so I think this one's going to do extremely well. If you look at the market cap currently right now, it's a mid cap, right? So mid caps are cool because they usually end up 10xing, during the bull run. So anywhere, mid caps for me are anywhere within that 200 million to $600 to $700 million range. And Kujira is just right around that juicy range that I really like. It's another one that you can really, really look into to capitalize on. And so that's one ecosystem that you can look into, right? Another one is Solana, right? So a lot of people hate Solana and a lot of people love Solana. It's a very polarizing ecosystem, right? They really got punished during the 2022 downwards cycle of FTX crashing, then Celsius, then BlockFi, then Voyager, and so on and so forth. So they were part of that crash because FTX actually was, I think, an investor into Solana too as well. So yeah, a lot of people stopped believing in them and they thought it was going to go to zero, but they ended up bouncing back, and they're top 5 crypto today. Plays in Solana that I will look into are like PIF Network. This one is really interesting. Another one that you would maybe consider. You got to kind of wipe out your thought process on how you should invest. I've talked about this previously. If you haven't already checked out my New to Crypto podcast, you should probably check that one out, where I talk about, you can't invest in crypto as if it's like the stock market and you're looking at stuff based off of where you perceive the value to be based off of earnings reports and assets and liabilities. And it's just not EBITDA. You can't use these metrics with crypto, right? With crypto, it's, again, you need to look at the hype, the narrative, who's shilling it, liquidity, the marketing. These are the elements that you need to look at. These are the KPIs for the crypto market. So Bonk is a meme coin, right? I personally do sometimes swing trade meme coins, but I don't hold them for long periods of time. When I say long, I mean a year to 2 years. It's just not something that I do personally, because there's always going to be a new coin, a new coin, new coin. And this market has shiny object syndrome. So you should not try to look at the market as if, okay, who has staying power or who's been around a long time. That does work, but I'm talking about for exponential rates of return. The newer coins always outperform the older coins. So I'm not saying not to buy older coins. Like, some of the stuff in the top 10 is really, really good. Like, if you look at, let's go and scroll and look at some of the coins. And if you're not familiar with these websites, coinmarketcap.com. This is what I'm looking at now currently. There's also CoinGecko too as well. These are two crypto data and analytics platforms that are really great to sort of make informed investment decisions when you're in the crypto market, right? And so Bitcoin is obviously a great coin, right? It's the best. It's the number one. And what makes Bitcoin great is that it's fully decentralized, and it's the premium version of a store of value that gold could not achieve, because we can't track how much supply there is of gold today. Ask somebody, or ask yourself, if you hold gold, what's the total supply of gold today? And what's it going to be tomorrow? And what's it going to be next week? You don't know, right? Whereas with Bitcoin, you can see everything on chain. And there's a supply cap, which also gives it a strategic advantage too as well that you don't have with gold, right? And all you have to do is hold it for a 3 to 4 year time span whenever you buy it, and it's going to be higher than the price that you bought it at, right? That's just how Bitcoin works. And yeah, so, and institutions are in now, so it's validated. It's has a lot of validity to it, Ethereum is also a decent hold, too as well. There's some good holds, but again, are they going to make you get exponential rates of return? Talking like 10 to 20 to 30x. Bitcoin's not going to do a 10x from here, right? We're probably looking at max of 5x. I said in my previous podcast, I think the top of Bitcoin is going to be closer to 200K, but you can't time the top and you can't time the bottom completely, but you can use indicators to be able to give you a strategic advantage to know when it's time to start at least allocating some capital, right? Through indicators, right? And yeah, I just don't think Bitcoin's going to do more than like a 3 to 4x from here, right? It'll probably top out about 150 to 200K. People will probably start looking more into it as it heads towards 100K, and the FOMO will ensue. But that's not going to be generational wealth for you right now. The play that you should have been making in Bitcoin was much earlier, right? When Bitcoin was down, it's taking forever to load. Yeah. So when you scroll here and you look at the one year chart, right? This was the time frame you should have been buying. You know, even before then, when I was telling people to get in at 17K and everybody was calling me a madman, this was the time frame that I was getting in, right? Around this December time frame, right? This is when I was heavy buying in that range right there. Not just Bitcoin, but altcoins too as well, because it looked like the market was going to shift back into a bullish sentiment, and all the FUD had already happened. FTX and everything had already crashed. The banks were crashing. Everything had already happened, and the Fed actually injected liquidity into the market, right? They don't stop printing. They maybe just slow the printer down. They've printed another $3 trillion around estimated since this time frame right here, right? So they keep printing money, and where do you think that money goes? Well, it goes into capital markets, right? Liquid markets, etc. And so the play for Bitcoin for me was here. If you would have got in here when I was telling everybody to get in, you should get around close to a clean 8 to 10x, which is great. That's a very, very great return, right? Now, you know, you're going to get like around a 3 to 4x, which is still good, but it's not still what you could have made, right? So the plays more are in the Bitcoin ecosystem, right?
Hey bro, I'm just trolling is something that will not just challenge your perspective, but also touch your heart and soul. It's a book that defies convention, blending art and literature into a thought-provoking masterpiece. A reflective piece of provocative art that tackles societal constructs from angles you've never considered. Hey bro, I'm just trolling delves into the very essence of our existence. It questions the technology that surrounds us, challenges our notions of beauty, stares unflinchingly into the eyes of death, and questions the boundaries of freedom. It scrutinized the educational system that molds our very future. This book is a journey, an exploration of shared human experience, and it's a work of art that refuses to be confined by tradition. It's a canvas painted with words, a melody of thought, and a testament to the power of creativity in a world dominated by algorithms and data. Visit moonboycapitalventures.com and get your hands on Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling today. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Now let's jump back into the show.
So the thing is with CoinGecko, like if you look at CoinGecko, they're not going to have, you know, if you look at CoinGecko, this is the thing with these platforms are great for analytics and stuff, but they don't give you really the true alpha, right? You have to really know what you're doing and be well networked in the space. I'm in 4 different venture capital groups, so I get alpha before every other person does. And I also have a research group of 40 members. If you'd like to join, you can also schedule a meeting in my Calendly, and I'll get you sorted, right? And that's where the real alpha is. Because these coins here, yeah, Satoshi VM, you know, a whole bunch of people got dumped on with this coin, right? Because they gave a lot of coins to influencers, and the influencers then dumped on retail, right? Orange is another new one, and that's interesting. And then there's a Lego, right? But I think the true alpha is in stuff that people don't even have any idea about. You know, I've mentioned already previously in a previous podcast about, you know, the Bitcoin ecosystem, and talked about, I gave you guys a little bit of plays about stacks, about Portal, about Mint Layer. Portal's not even out yet, you know, so that may be one to look into when you're trying to get into. Oh wow, okay, why is this not working? Okay, that's interesting. Let me go back here. But yeah, Porto is another one that's very, very interesting that you guys should definitely look into and try to see if it's something that you think you could make some really good returns in after the launch. One other play too, as well as I talked about too, as well as Mint Layer. So Mint Layer is a layer 2 scaling solution for Bitcoin, right? And as you can see here, they don't even have the other. That's how early it is. They still have them on ETH, but they've already switched over to mainnet. So they're already in mainnet. So the market cap is still very, very small. It's only 40 million. So this thing has so much room to run. It could easily 20x from here, right? A 20x from here, what? It would be at 800 million market cap. I don't know if you guys are familiar with crypto, but $800 million in a bull market in market cap is peanuts. You're not even, this bull run, the top 100 coins will probably be at like, you probably can't even get into the top 100 if you're not at least like 3 to 5 billion market cap, right? So 800 million is super doable. That's just a 20x from here. And I think that this coin has a lot of room to really, really run still. And no one's really talking about it much in the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're talking about more about other BRC20 plays. There are a lot of, excuse my French, but shit coins, right? So this is one that you really, really should look out for. And another one that like I said, I've talked about already previously in the past is Stacks, right? Like I said, I'm not going to do full breakdowns on these, it's just going to take way too long, way too much time. But you guys should definitely look into some of these plays. Stacks is doing really, really well, right? If you just look at the 1 year, Stacks was, you could have got in here, in this 40, 50 cent range, and that would have served you really, really well. You would have did a clean 5-6x, right? That's a clean 5-6x. And the bull run still hasn't really started yet, right? So it's still early. I still think Stacks is going to go a lot higher because if Bitcoin gets to, let's say it does like a 4x from here and it gets to like a $4 trillion market cap, right? Well, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, right, it's really high right now. It's 50%. That means the entire crypto market will probably be around 8 to 10 trillion if Bitcoin does a 4x from here, which means a lot of these projects are going to go a lot higher, right? Because Bitcoin dominance actually lowers during the bull run. It usually gets to around 39, 38%, something like that. So we could be looking anywhere, like I said, from an 8 trillion to 10 trillion market cap, which is basically what I estimated in an earlier podcast in the beginning stages of me podcasting, right? And if you guys don't want, you could go check out that cryptocurrency podcast that I did where I basically kind of called what was going to happen, and it ended up pretty much happening like how I said it would. I've also made previous calls too as well about Bitcoin ETFs, and I said as soon as the Bitcoin ETFs get approved, or as soon as they get launched, or that they get basically turned in, everyone turns in the applications for them, the ETH ETFs we're going to get, and then after that we're going to end up seeing an influx of basket ETFs of different sort of cryptocurrency, exotic currencies, in baskets, and people are going to start offering those, right? And that's just how this is going to go. So that's another play that you can look into. Like I said, back into the Solana ecosystem before I lose my train of thought. One play that I think is really interesting is Helium. Although they've pumped up a bit, I think they've done about a 4 to 5x. But it's another interesting play too as well. PIF network, like I said, is interesting. The Bonk meme coin is interesting. Robit is extremely interesting. And actually, Robit is probably the play that I would probably take. I know they were making upwards, last I checked, they were making upwards of like $1 million a day, I think, on their platform, right? So it's a gambling type of platform. So Gamify is a really interesting narrative because there's a lot of jurisdictions that don't even allow you to gamble, right? So if you can do it in a decentralized fashion, then that's pretty awesome, right? Because you can't fight demand. And so if people want to gamble, then they can do it then on their platform. And so, as you can see, they're also on Solana. They're on ETH too as well. They're also a very nice market cap, right? And as you see here, they have a total supply of around 3 million. Well, it says the total supply is 3 million. The max supply is 5. Oh, this is not million. Sorry, this is 5 billion, right? So 2.9 billion is the total supply. Max supply is 5 billion. So it's not as diluted as it could be, right? And but again, this one thing you need to keep in mind too is the trading volume is not so high. But again, it's because we're still in a bear market. When you see trading volumes like this, where it says like 260,000 in trading volume, this is how you know we're still in the bear market. It's still early, because trust me when I tell you, anything in the top 100 is doing millions in trading volume, millions, multi-millions in trading volume, and so yeah, we're still extremely early. Even in the top 200, it's doing in the millions, right? This is a number 173 coin, right? So yeah, this is another one I would think to keep in mind when thinking about how to strategically place your capital. You still have some time to get into some altcoins that are really decent in market cap, right? This is what I would consider again a mid cap. If you look at the 1 year chart, yeah, so this thing's pumped up about 10x or so, and it still has room to run. It can still do another 10x from here. I think it will end up doing 100x. So you still have time. There's definitely still time for sure to get into this if you're thinking about it. This is not one that I currently hold right now, but actually one that I'm actually looking to maybe accumulate. And yeah, so that's another interesting one within the Solana ecosystem, right? There's others too as well. Their Star Atlas is interesting. They're under 100 million in market cap, so that could be another player that you could look into too as well. Or if you just want to play on the safe side, you could just buy Radium, right? Where's Radium at? Should be closer to the top than to the bottom, right? I don't even think it's in here. So I think it's Solana's. Yeah, here we go. It's Solana's number 1 DEX, right? Meaning decentralized exchange. So decentralized exchanges usually follow the trend of the layer 1 protocol itself. So Solana does a 5x. This would more than likely do a 10x, right? Let's see what it was at in its previous all-time high. If we could take a look at that. Yeah, so the previous all-time high was $16, and it's $1 right now. So that's a clean 16x that you could potentially make, from Radium, right? And like I said, again, another thing that you need to keep in mind is looking at the circulating versus the total. So the circulating supply is a little bit over half, which isn't bad at all. And yeah, it could easily do a 10x. So this is another one that you could keep in mind, because the trading volume is going to pick up as the bull run continues to pick up, and people are going to go to the number 1 DEX for each layer 1 smart contract protocol, right? So another ecosystem that also gets a lot of hate is Cardano. And the reason I like Cardano, not the coin itself, but the ecosystem plays, is because no one's really talking about them so much, and they're kind of flying under the radar. And usually when stuff gets talked about bad, it rage pumps a lot. So this is another one that I think that you should pay attention to, this ecosystem, right? Like look at the Indigo protocol, which I think is a lending and borrowing platform. Meld is trying to do the same thing, but I think haven't even launched yet, and they've been around for like 3 years and they still haven't done anything. And part of the reason why Cardano projects take a long time to launch things is because it's very hard to find highly skilled talent in the Haskell and Plutus smart contract space. And yeah, it makes it hard to develop stuff quicker, and there's not as much tooling as there is on like a Cosmos that streamline the process for developers, right? Another one that I like too as well is World Mobile Token a lot, because they're actually making actual revenue. And actually, they should have, if you go to WMTscan.com, we can see here all the different metrics that you need to look at, right? So you can see the global staked balance, right, that they have currently right now, right? And so out of their circulating, about 60 to 80%, something around there, like 70% of it is staked, right? Meaning there's a lot of it that's out of circulation. Another thing that I like is they keep increasing with unique users every 24 hours. I remember checking this like a month and a half ago, and it had like 40,000 users, and now it's almost 60,000. And so during the bull run, they're definitely going to get well over 100,000. They're going to be, I think they could even 10x the users during the bull market, right? And so if you don't know what this platform is, it's basically like sort of a DePIN narrative, right? So decentralized physical infrastructure. And what they do is they basically have these air nodes, and all around the world, and they connect the air nodes all together to, like in a specific area. Say they'll have a few air nodes and they connect them together to make a LAN or a WAN, right? So that's a local area network or a wide area network. And so to disseminate internet infrastructure in these rural areas that don't have internet, right? And very interesting play. And you see the total consumption continues to increase as well, and the total air nodes that they have. And you can see here the air nodes are actually making real, actual money, right? So you see the revenues that they're making. So they're actually printing money. And yeah, so they have all the metrics you need to see here. You can see the number of wallets with WMT too as well. And you see that number continues to go up and to the right, which is interesting. And you see the amount that's staked. So it's another interesting play I think you could look into too as well. You can see all the transactions. They're all on chain. They plan to go mainnet. I believe they're launching 2 separate chains. They're launching another chain I think called Aya. But yeah, this is another one. Like I said, just look into this and just to see if that's something that maybe would interest you. Schneck is another meme coin, I think, on Cardano, which is another interesting play that you could look into. This is an artificial intelligence project right here, Singularity Net or AGIX. And yeah, so they're also very interesting. So these are some plays I think you look into the Cardano ecosystem. Some of the major plays actually aren't even here. Like Axo is a DEX that was supposed to be the most anticipated and hyped up DEX on Cardano, but it's actually getting a lot of FUD right now, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So that may be one that you may want to look into. So yeah, that's what I have for the Cardano ecosystem. Moving forward, another play that I think is great, because gaming narrative is also really big in the crypto space right now, and a lot of people are getting hyped up about that. If you don't want to buy and look into singular games, one thing that you could do is just buy AVAX because it has the gaming chain narrative. And I think AVAX could easily pull a 7 to 10x from here, right? I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but when you look at the numbers that what ETH is probably going to do and what Bitcoin's going to do, seeing as they're both going to be in the $1 trillion in market cap, the layer 1 smart contract protocols, there'll be a few of them that are going to be over $100 billion, right? And they're going to crush their previous all-time highs. And if you look at the previous all-time highs for AVAX, it was $144, right? So $144 from here would be like a clean 4.5, 5x, right? And I think it's gonna crush this. I think it's gonna double from here and probably end up doing a 10x. And that's the reason that I hold AVAX. It's the reason I like AVAX. And yeah, but I'll probably be, like I said, selling my AVAX well before that time frame of when it starts reaching its a new all-time high and a new all-time high, and hitting that price discovery range. But I really like this coin as well. There's a couple coins underneath it too as well. If you check the ecosystem plays, you can't really see the ecosystem on here. They don't have it for AVAX, but one of them that I like is Shrapnel. And this one is a gaming play, right? I like this a lot because a lot of people are hyping it up, and it's really, really, if you look at the gameplay, it's really, really good. So it's something you can do some investigation on. All the information is also all here. You can see the website, the explorers. You can check everything here. You can jump into the Telegram group and ask questions. And yeah, so this is another play that I think is very, very interesting in the AVAX ecosystem, and it's still, for me, it's in a low cap area because I think anything under 200 million is more low cap, not mid cap. So it's a very good range to do a 10 to 20x. Like you could easily do a $2 billion market cap, especially if the gaming ecosystem really, really starts to take off. Another one that I like a lot is Super. I'm waiting for this thing to start coming down a bit because I didn't actually get a chance. I got one of my clients into it, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to get in when I wanted to. I wanted to get in around that 50-60 cent range, and it's already pumped up again another 2x from there. So I'm waiting for it to come down a bit more, hopefully in that 80 cents, 70 cents range again to accumulate some of this. I think it could easily do another 10x from here. I think the previous all-time high was around $3. It was around $4.5, $4.7. And so I think this one has room to run too as well. And they're basically a gaming infrastructure play. So if you don't want to get into actual games themselves, one thing you could do is get into the infrastructure, right? And another one too that people used to like was Gala, but I don't really like Gala games that much either. So that's another thing you could look into too as well. But Superverse, I think, also because the people that are behind it, Elio Trades and Alex Becker, I think have a combined audience of like 5 million or 4 million or something crazy like that. If you combine their Twitter plus their YouTube channels, it should be somewhere in the $3 to $5 million range, right? In terms of audience. Well, not $3 to $5 million, but 3 to 5 million range in terms of audience, right? So they're really promoting this heavy and pushing this a lot. So I think this one has a lot of room to run. It could easily do a 10 to 15x if things get really, really out of hand.
Empty streets, hum a lonely tune. My heart, a drum solo, beats for you. The cosmos spins, a record moon. But galaxies can't fill your empty shoe. I mourn for you. You exist for me to be with. You're the best thing that has ever happened to me. Will you be here after hours? After death? After my last breath? Let's make a bet to never let anything come between us. Not politics, money, or the fact we might have to take the bus. Promise me you'll always love me as I will always love you. Come closer so I can feel your warmth. Closer, closer. Don't let go, please. Never let go. And I don't hold back. Until next time, I'll be back. See you, Space Cowboy.
Another thing that I want you to look into, like I said, is the gaming ecosystem too as well. And like I said, gaming could be really, really big. It's not something that, like I said, I just bought AVAX. I just went more safe and just was like, I'm just going to buy AVAX. And that's going to be my gaming play. And I also want to get into Super too as well. So those are my two sort of air quotations gaming plays. But there's a lot of good plays here, that you could look into and just scroll and see. But majority of the games that do the best are usually the sleepers, that people don't really talk about or know about. I know actually there's some that are a little bit still beat up, man. It's really, really, really low market caps that you can look at. Like if you go to UFO Gaming, it's still very, very low market cap. I think that one is more of an infrastructure play, meaning that people are building on top of it. This one was getting a lot of hype too. The Playable Games was getting a lot of hype. So I'm not entirely sure if it's still going to get hot. WAGMI Games might be something to look into too as well. Altura is very interesting because they kind of make like a white label service for NFTs. And also they have smart NFTs too as well. So that one's another interesting one. Cetus is getting a lot of hype too. It's a singular game. But I think they also made a launch pad, if I'm not mistaken, too as well. And I think gaming launch pads could also have a lot of room to run. Yeah, there's a lot of good, interesting plays here in the gaming sector that you can look into. Illuvium, I think, will do pretty well. They've been building now for a while now. I like Engine Coin. It's been around for quite some time now. It'll probably end up doing a 10x. I think the previous all-time high for Engine Coin was around $3. So, it was $4. So I think it could easily do a 10 to 15x. And yeah, so these are some of the plays that I'm looking into and to see. And another thing too that I want you to really understand is cryptocurrency coins die, right? So please don't marry your bags, okay? So this article is talking about over 50% have died since 2014, 50% of crypto projects, right? So again, if you look at this chart, if you can see it, if you're watching this visually, you can see, I'll just kind of read it out to you. So in 2014, only 37 crypto projects were taken off of CoinGecko, and that number steadily increased to where it got at a top of 5,700 cryptocurrencies that were taken, delisted off of CoinGecko, right? And that number is trickling down. In 2022, it was 3,500, and last year it was 289. But the point is, a lot of these cryptocurrencies aren't going to make it, right? So please don't get married to your bags. Make your money, take your profits, and move on. You should really be playing into the crypto market to buy more Bitcoin. That should be your strategy, right? Is to accumulate Bitcoin, leveraging altcoins, right? because Bitcoin is quite expensive for most people. Most people can't buy a whole Bitcoin. What you can do though is put 5K, 10K into altcoins and have those altcoins then do a 20x to get you to like 100K. So you could buy like one whole Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is going to be well over 100K. But when it dips again during the next bear market and the next fear mongering sort of cycle, that'll be your time to accumulate one whole Bitcoin, right? It should then drop below 100K again. I don't think Bitcoin will stay over 100K once it passes it. I think it's going to go back down, but I don't think it will ever see these prices again. I don't think Bitcoin will ever go at 50K again. I don't think so. I could be completely wrong, but I think if Bitcoin gets to 150 to 200K, I simply can't see it going down to the 50K range. That would be crazy. I think at most maybe you'll see like 70, 80K. It could go down, and people will start fear mongering again, saying how bad Bitcoin is, and then that's the time to really accumulate again, and then wait for the next cycle. And I think we have 2 more cycles to really, really, play in these markets where we can get exponential rates of return, and then it's going to start looking more like the stock market, and opportunities are going to be much harder to come by. And this is just my speculation on what I think. I could be completely wrong, but yeah. And so basically, again, farm airdrops, right? I gave you a little bit of an example with Cosmos, right? Cosmos again is one of the easiest ecosystems to farm airdrops. All you gotta do is just buy some tokens and stake them, and that's it. And you can farm airdrops, free money, literally. I've gotten some really lucrative airdrops in the past, and I'm looking to get a lot of lucrative ones in the future too, as well, from the ecosystem, right? Another thing that I'd like to talk about is capitalism is supposed to make our lives more cheaper, right? So what do I mean by that? So the idea of capitalism is that you create a product and you're selling it, let's say at a higher price because you're the only one that has it. Then another guy pops up and then he starts making it. Then another guy pops up and then you guys start competing with the pricing, to the point where the prices get very, very competitive, and it's great for the end user because it's like, oh, I don't want to go to this guy, he's charging $8. I'll go to that guy, he's charging $6. And that's the idea of capitalism, right? It's actually supposed to make stuff cheaper over the course of time because the demand, or let's say the demand stays the same, but there's more supply, there's more people that are introducing a similar type of product, then the pricing should then decrease. The reason the prices increase is due to the fact that there's people at the top with one node that are printing money at a rapid rate to force you then to mark up your price so you can then continue sustaining your business. When in reality, if there was just a supply cap, then prices would then just decrease because there would just be more businesses online and there'd only be a limited amount of money. So it would create a form of scarcity. And this is the problem that Bitcoin solves, right? Because Bitcoin allows everything to become cheaper over the course of time. Like I've told you, Bitcoin has gone up only since inception, and it doesn't matter when you buy it. Even if you bought it at the top last cycle, it's going to pass its previous all-time high this year. And when it does it, you're going to be in profit. All you have to do is then wait. So it effectively then made your life cheaper. You just have to wait because you didn't time it correctly. And I think people are looking at Bitcoin from the dollar standpoint of, okay, yes, Bitcoin is volatile from the dollar perspective, and it does have these vicious downward and upward swings. But if you look at Bitcoin from trading against, I don't know, the Argentinian peso or the Nigerian naira, well, it's crushed its previous all-time high a long time ago, right? Because those currencies are inflating way faster, and people want Bitcoin more and more, right? In those areas. So it really depends on what you're trading it against, but it's eventual that the point is that things will start getting priced in Satoshis and denominated Satoshis, right? That's the entire idea, is to eventually make life cheaper because soon you'll be able to buy a house with 1 Bitcoin, right? This cycle, you're going to be able to buy a house with 1 Bitcoin, right? May not be the best house, maybe like, let's say Bitcoin gets to in that 120 to 250K range. You'll be able to buy a house with 1 Bitcoin. Then eventually, you'll be able to buy a yacht with 1 Bitcoin. Then eventually you'll be able to buy a private jet with 1 Bitcoin. So it makes life cheaper because you're going to need to spend less and less Bitcoin for goods and services over the course of time by just buying and holding Bitcoin for a long period of time, right? So capitalism in itself is supposed to make life cheaper, and that's a problem that Bitcoin solves, right? It's a checks and balance against these people with one node that keep printing money and having to produce more and more every single year, which is retarded, right? Why should I have to keep producing more and more every year? And you're increasing tax, and then you're punishing me if I mess up on my tax when you're already taxing me by printing money, right? By effectively increasing the supply in the market every single year, right? So this is basically what I meant by capitalism is supposed to make life cheaper, right? And so another thing that I wrote down is the market, the landscape of money is going to change, right? Never in time before have we been able to send value whenever we want, instantaneously within seconds, right? Until now. So once more and more people realize that, wait a minute, why don't I just have my money in crypto or into Bitcoin, and I can just send money quick to whoever I want to send it to, and I don't need to check into a bank. You can just check on chain that I did then send the money to you, and you then did receive the money, right? And so that's going to solve a lot of issues, right? Even me now, I was in London and I had liquidity issues because my bank card wasn't working to withdraw money because it wasn't a London card. And I was trying to pay the barber, and it was super hard to do so. And I ended up having to send the money to him via bank, and it took him some time to receive the money into his bank account, right? It took like 3 or 4 days because I'd send it to him, I think on a Thursday. It didn't arrive on a Saturday, and then he ended up getting it on I think Tuesday, right? And obviously he was thinking I was trying to scam him. There's no in-transit visibility of that. Like there's no way I can look it up on a blockchain explorer and see where the value is. Why is it not been confirmed, and why has it not been sent? But with the blockchain, you can just simply send money and receive it whenever. It's 24/7. The banks close on the weekends, right? They only open till 5 p.m. and they close at 5 p.m. usually on the weekdays, and they open at like 9 a.m. So this is what I mean by the landscape of money is going to change. And there's nothing that's really going to be able to stop that, right? Because of the fact in which the way that Bitcoin's designed, the way the crypto's designed, it allows the people to participate no matter what race, religion, ethnicity, culture, location, jurisdiction that they're in. They can just participate. And I think this is a more fair and inclusive sort of system, and people are then now starting to realize that and wanting to capitalize on that, especially the big boys like BlackRock and Grayscale and so on, right? And so another thing too is, please stop listening to Fox News, BBC, CNN, and all those losers. They lie all the time, right? They lie all the time. So a lot of them were fighting crypto and saying the crypto was so bad and you shouldn't get into it. And people were hitting me up telling me that, is crypto a scam? I heard the CEO of Bitcoin is like Sam Bankman-Fried because, people were just clueless about how crypto and Bitcoin works. We're in an era of decentralized information, right? And if that wasn't prevalent during the entire COVID debacle, where there was honest professionals, that were medical professionals trying to give their side of the story about the issue, and they were just canceling them and deplatforming them. And then they got to a point where they were turning off comments and notifications, right? When you got to turn off your comments and your dislike button and force companies to do that, it says a lot, right? It says a lot. So you need to find alternative media. This podcast is great for alternative content, alternative media, people who have a different perspective that the mainstream media is not going to give you. Right? They're not going to break these type of things down to you in this type of way. A lot of the mainstream don't even know much about crypto. Most of the politicians don't know anything about it, right? People think because they wear suits and they talk on TV that they have some kind of authority and they know everything. Most of them don't know anything. What they need to do is link with industry experts like myself to then make proper regulations that don't then infringe on the innovation of this industry. But instead what they do is they just talk a lot of, for lack of a better term, shit about the industry, and they don't know anything about the industry. They don't know what a blockchain is. They don't know how it works. And the reason I know that is because how they speak about it, right? How they talk about it. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. And they talk about money laundering. There's estimated, I think last year, over $1 trillion in money laundered using the US dollar. Right? Look, I don't want to get into the banks and how they operate, but a lot of them launder money and then they just pay a fine and continue laundering money. It's public knowledge. No one talks about it, but they want to push this narrative like everyone that uses crypto is bad. There's so many more people that need crypto for good than try to use it for bad. It's the same with any other technology. Would you consider the smartphone and social media bad? Depends on how you use it. You know, how I use it may be different than how you use it, right? So if you're just death scrolling all day, looking at girls putting on jeans, then social media is probably not the greatest thing for society, right? If social media makes you feel worse about yourself, then it's probably not the best thing for society. But if you're able to use social media to actually network and meet new people and, you know, connect with different people, and you're using it, you know, to promote your business and you're able to make money off of it, then it's great. You know, so it depends on how you use the technology, but you shouldn't try to stifle innovation. If you try to do it in your jurisdiction, another country is going to take advantage of that, and they're going to make it easy to innovate. And so they're going to bring all the businesses to come over there, to innovate over there. And your country is just going to be left behind. And that's just how things are going to go. So trying to push these narratives, mainstream media, most of mainstream media can't even compete with most YouTubers or most podcasters. They're doing worse numbers. They're literally not doing better numbers than podcasters and YouTubers and influencers. Just look it up. Just look up the views. Look up the numbers, right? And so why is that? Why are people shifting away from that type of news, that type of those type of outlets? Is because they're giving wrong information, or they're pushing a super biased narrative, and a lot of times they don't even know what they're talking about. You know, because at the end of the day, the news is designed to, they know that a couple things, right? Sex sells and controversy sells. And so they just keep pushing you controversy instead of giving you a level-headed mind to be able to think coherently and make informed investment decisions. What they'll do is they'll just push a biased narrative into your face and make you think then something's bad. It's psychological conditioning, right? And so I think this is part of the problem that's wrong with the current news outlets, right? And this is why decentralized media, decentralized information is taking off. It's not going to stop, right? I'm going to continue to put out podcasts. I'm going to continue to give and inform my audience with the right information because I have a fiduciary duty to do so, right? And so this is, again, please look at alternative media. I wouldn't say this. Do not listen to CNN and BBC News, but try to compare it with other alternative information from actual professionals that are within the industries that you're talking about. And then doing holistic research, you can then come up with your own conclusion that's well informed because you've been able to get both sides of the argument, both sides of the coin, and different perspectives, right? And life is all about perspectives and stories. So who can tell the better story and the more factual story, right? Will probably be able, you'll probably gravitate towards them more than someone else, right? So these news outlets are starting to lose authority, they're starting to lose trust from the retail, right? So another thing too I want to bring up too is this may be your last chance to get decent prices, right? I've said this again already previously. The halving is literally around the corner, right? The longer you wait, the less the risk then becomes higher because the prices will probably go much higher, which means that your rate of return is much lower, meaning that there's a high probability that you'll get dumped on, right? This is why it's important to take the risk when the risk is air quotations high, when the market's already dumped, when everyone's left, when everyone says it's a scam, when everyone is trying to tell you that you're crazy. You know, that's the time to get in. Buy the fear, sell the news, right? Buy the fear, sell the greed, right? So when the news that Bitcoin hits 150K, that's the time that you need to be selling. When the news that Bitcoin is pumping, or you see a whole bunch of stuff pumping, it's the time you should be selling because people are greedy, right? Buy the fear, sell the greed. That's how you should play these markets, right? And yeah, so please, you're running out of time. Take this very serious. Again, I can't do these type of podcasts all the time. You see, I'm trying to just skate through these podcasts and do them whenever I have time, because I do like trying to get this information out to you guys. And yeah, I really hope that you guys were able to get some value out of this, right? And if you haven't already, you can check my New to Crypto podcast, right, where I talk about how to structure your portfolio. This is when Bitcoin was at 40K. I was trying to help you guys out. So again, you can check that one out if you want a little bit more detailed breakdown of what you should do if you're not already in the market, and how you can structure a portfolio with different portfolio strategies and things you need to look out for, and also getting hardware wallets, etc. So guys, please take this stuff serious. This is a chance to be able to live your time how you want. Time is finite, but money is infinite. So why would you want to keep trading your finite supply of time for an infinite supply of money? It makes absolutely no sense. Nobody can tell me that makes sense. It's the most asinine thing that you can do. The limited amount of time that you have, you're trading it to chase more and more and more money because you keep printing more and more and more money every year. Where really what you should be chasing is your health and your relationships, and the time you're able to spend in those relationships, and the time you're able to spend on your health, right? But because of this inflationary sort of environment that they've placed us in, people are focused more on trying to earn the next dollar, right? This is a way in which you can exponentially scale and surpass the rate of inflation to where you can free up your time, which is the most valuable asset that you have, for things that you actually like doing, right? Don't you want to do those things? Life should be more about that than about trying to make a quick buck. And this is why I got into this industry, because I saw that there's no other industry that's making more millionaires than this industry. There's going to be more millionaires minted this next bull run than in any other industry, and I promise you that. The question is, are you going to be one of them? Or are you going to be the next 100,000aire? Are you going to be able to take that 5K and turn it into 50K and change your life? Are you going to be able to take that 20K and turn it into 200K and change your life? Are you going to be able to take that 100K and turn it into $1 million and change your life? This is the only industry to do it in. Time is running out. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, man. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace.